Okay, welcome to our impact call tonight. We're so grateful to have all of you here. We are here talking about the Giving Tree and the great work that is currently being done all around the world as a result of your generosity and donations, and those of other wellness advocates all around the world with doTERRA. So tonight we are going to be talking again about the impact that you're making, and I love this visual of like which side of the picture do you want to live on? And we are doing wonderful things to help people have a better life. And so I'm going to start by talking about the doTERRA Healing Hands Foundation because we are talking specifically about the Giving Tree. Of course, we utilize the hygiene kits, the 72-hour emergency hygiene kit. And the story that I wanted to share with you, I was able to get a little piece of that um, Q3 report, and I wanted to share something with you from that. It'll be up on the website within the next few days. But I wanted to share what the Vice President of Philanthropy and Community Impact, her name is Missy Larson. She shared from the stage at our Becoming doTERRA convention this year in 2023. She talked about our efforts to help ease the devastation from the fires that impacted Maui this past August. When the fires overtook Lahaina, wellness advocates Eliza Yoshida and Miley Mai jumped into action, working together to mobilize their teams and provide aid. And in just a matter of days, they had more than 50 wellness advocates in Hawaii that had distributed more than 8,300 emergency relief hygiene kits to local families, shelters, and emergency centers, and others efforts that involved the wellness advocates working with humanitarian government leaders and nonprofit organizations in order to help distribute essential oils. Now, there were other members of the doTERRA family that rallied. We did a fundraiser and it was matched up to $100,000 thanks to the generosity of one of the doTERRA executive founders. With approximately $200,000 raised, doTERRA Healing Hands is working with the on-the-ground partners to identify needs. And so far, they have donated to Alpono, which this donation provided baseball, softball, hula, and other sports equipment to support a community focus on the children in Maui that were impacted by the fire, so they would be able to continue to be kids during this difficult time. They also donated to the Hana Arts Center in the wake of the fires, and they hosted a fundraiser for Common Ground Collective, which provided meals to those displaced by the Lahaina fires. And there, through that fundraiser, 2,223 meals were provided. And then they also donated to Nahona Health, which they were able to provide respiratory and other medical supplies to support fire victims in Maui. So we'll keep you up to date on as soon as we know more about what is happening with that. But I thought that was a great example of those hygiene kits and where they are going, and some of the good work that we're doing to help the people there in Maui as they've gone through that. So, Brian, let's talk a little bit about Doctor's Choice and what we're seeing happen there. You're still with us, right, Brian? You might be muted. You are muted.
Okay, there we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we got you.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, so let me tell a bit about Doctor's Choice. So Doctor's Choice, many of you probably might know by now, is a Ugandan company, which I helped to found in 2017. It is a nutraceutical company that manufactures nutritional formulas and supplements in East Africa. We distribute all over Africa. We distribute in the southern African countries of Zimbabwe, Namibia, Zambia. We also distribute in West Africa, in Ghana, and also obviously in Kenya, Tanzania, Sudan, and the East African region. Our primary focus is on chronic malnutrition. So in addition to making capsules and chewables for children, We're well known for making immune boosters, but we're also now more recently known for our humanitarian work in manufacturing fortified porridge, and also that little package you see there in the red called it's a RUTF. It's a ready-to-use therapeutic food. And so that the picture there, you see the mother sharing that package with the child is a ready-to-use therapeutic food. It's basically when a child is discovered to be chronically malnourished and literally on the verge of dying. One of the first things they'll do when they bring that child into a hospital is feed them an RUTF, ready-to-use therapeutic food. And usually they'll get that child who is very malnourished on that for about 6 weeks. And it's a peanut butter paste loaded with every mineral and vitamin basically known to man. It's a UNICEF formula. So UNICEF is the one that basically sanctions that product. It's a UNICEF formula, so not anyone can just make it. You can't just creatively make a peanut butter paste with throwing in vitamin C or vitamin D. You actually have to follow a stringent formula. And so we actually have the contract for the government of Uganda. We also distribute into DRC and Sudan and Kenya in that particular region. Just recently, we were invited to create a formalized relationship with the largest donor to UNICEF in the world. So the largest private donor to UNICEF in the world just happens to be the LDS Church. And so we had meetings with them in May, June, July, and then recently in October. In fact, we just are in the process of shipping a very large supply of that RUTF to the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. So that's what we're doing, and what we've done is we've created a partnership with the Families Mentoring Families Foundation, which is headquartered in Ghana, but has literacy centers all over Africa. Currently counting, I think there's at least 100 of these family literacy centers across Africa, and Becky's on the call, so she can speak more to the wonderful work that they are doing. But basically, what we've committed through our participants, our humanitarian advocates in the Giving Tree, is to contribute for every hygiene kit that gets purchased. Our goal is to match the delivery and distribution of a nutrition kit, which includes the RUTF, to a chronically malnourished child. So while on one hand, we will, through the Healing Kit, the Healing Hands Foundation, they can provide the hygiene kits to address, crises. We will also address crises in chronic malnutrition at the same time. So that's what we're doing with Doctor's Choice.
Excellent. And we shared this story last week about from the imprint Hope about Maria. But one of the things that Dr. Sanoga talked about this morning on the call that was really interesting was the red and the green kind of like a chart of being able to look at different things like the upper arm circumference, which was in the red zone when she came to them, but then it was in the green zone after she'd been with them for a little while, and they were able to help her to start eating and feeding properly so that she could get better. So thank you for that report, Brian. Now we are going oh, go ahead.
Brenda, I'm sorry, I forgot to add something just real quick. I think it's important because this is very similar to what doTERRA does. In doTERRA, when they make oil, they so they source the raw materials of their oil from farmers around the world, particularly resource poor settings. Similarly, we do the same with our products. Our ETF and the fortified flour are, for example, 90% of those raw materials, all raw materials that can be sourced locally, are sourced locally. So the butter is coming from Uganda, the soybean oil, and everything else that goes into. The only thing that we might not be able to get from Uganda is like the selenium, which goes into the RUT, the flour. There is no selenium available in Uganda. So I just wanted to.
Yeah, thank you. That is such an important part of what we do at doTERRA. Okay, we are have a special treat again. We've got Becky with us to talk a little bit about families mentoring families, and I'm going to see if this will let me interact with these. Oh, look at that! So very cool. So Becky, you can tell us a little bit about what's going on with literacy, vocational trainings, agriculture, like leadership training, anything that you guys are working on, which is all of it, I know, but like just take a couple of minutes and tell us some of what you're working on.
I'll tell you some of what we're working on, but I love these pictures that you pulled. Everyone that flashes up there, I just have this like this warmness in my heart, and I go, oh, because they're all attached to specific memories for me, and so I love those. I think when we talk about doing humanitarian work, and a lot of people want to get involved, but then you always have the flip side of it where people say, we pour all this money into humanitarian aid, all these big organizations pour tons of money into alleviating poverty, and does it ever really help? Like, does it ever make any difference at all? And so I just wanted to mention a couple of things that we've seen, and specifically one of the stories that has come to my mind as I was thinking about what to share on this call. When we first started our literacy centers, like 4.5 years ago, it's almost coming up on 5 now. We had some ladies who were attending the literacy class, but they really wanted to learn to sew. So that's why I'm happy that you have the vocational training photo up there. So they wanted to learn to sew. And we told them that we would do a sewing school for them, but they would need to learn to read first. And it took us a little while to get it all together, get it all set up. It turned out to be perfect because we had, I think, 70 women in that class, and there's no way we could accommodate all of them in the sewing school. And so at that time. So anyway, so the ladies that started that literacy class, they attended literacy for a year, and then we started them in the sewing class. And by that time, they were reading actually quite well. And they attended the sewing class and for at least another year. And I remember over Christmas break, right before the new year, or it was around the new year, I decided to go there. Whenever I go stop in, I never tell people when I'm coming, because I always want to see what's happening when I'm not there, when we're not there, when they don't know we're coming. And they were just so I visited the sewing school, and there was one of the ladies there that had been in that very first class, and she was cleaning up because they were getting ready to resume classes the following day after their holiday break. And so and I was there with a friend. She was cleaning up and preparing the classroom to resume the next day. And my friend asked her a question. She said, "What does it mean for you that you can sew now? Like, how has that changed your life?" And her answer surprised me. I did not see it coming. It was not what I expected. Her answer was, she said, "When I take just a regular piece of fabric and I make it into something beautiful, I know better how God feels."
Wow.
And I was like, whoa, didn't see that one, right? Like, so we want to know if we're making an impact. We are making an impact in ways that cannot be measured. And I asked her, I said, "Well, what does it mean for you that you can read now?" And she got so emotional at that time that she couldn't even talk. She couldn't even talk. So we asked her about what it meant for her that she could sew. And she came forward with the most profound answer I could have ever imagined. And then we asked what it meant for her that she could read. And she wasn't able to even express herself because she was so emotional about it. Well, earlier in this year, I went back to check on things again. She's graduated both those classes, and she, when people graduate both those classes, we gift them with a machine. Because otherwise they'll, finish the class and they still won't be able to start their business. And we figure by the time they've shown up for a year of literacy and a year of sewing, every day, they deserve it, right? Like they've shown up for themselves, they deserve it. And so I knew that she was sewing at her house. So I went, and this was in the Liberian refugee camp, by the way. So I went and I stopped by places where people don't know I'm coming, and stopped by her house, and she was very excited to see us. And she was sewing, she was making clothes for people out on her, just out in front of her home. And she said to me, she said, "Do you remember?" Because we had also taught them the Life Story program, which is another part of our leadership aspect of what we do, where they learn how to write the story of their successful business in the future. And she had done that. And she said, "Do you remember when you interviewed me last year or the year before, and she says, and I told you, it was when she was first starting. I think she was still in the literacy class, but she hadn't started the sewing school yet. She says, I told you I wanted to be the madame. I told you I wanted to be a teacher. And I said, yeah, I remember you. I remember that. And she said, I'm now the madame. And she'd gotten a job teaching sewing in someone else's sewing school. And she invited us to come back and visit the following day to the class that she was teaching, which I was honored and privileged to be able to do and meet the women that she was teaching. And it was just so awesome. So when we wonder, when we put money into these things, if it even matters or if it makes a difference at all, I can tell you from the most certain place of my heart, it makes a huge difference to the one. Like when we look at these situations one-on-one individually and how to move people forward, which is the mentoring part of what we do, it makes all the difference in the world. Changed her entire life. And not just her, but it's going to change her family, her children, her grandchildren are all going down a different path than they were before they came to literacy class. So that was just one of the stories I wanted to share that came to my mind today. So we're so grateful for all that you do, for the support of Families Mentoring Families. We cannot do this without your support. And when I tell these stories, it's to let you know what you're doing. It's to let you know the impact that you are having, because you might not see it on the front lines like we do. I'm just happy to share it with you.
That is so awesome. Thank you so much, Becky. I can't get past this awesome slide that I was able to put in, so I have to take it out and start again. All right, so we're going to move on to the next piece of our and I think this is actually going to do the same thing. So I'm going to just jump over to let's see where we're going with this. Oh, come on. Because I know what's going to happen as soon as I hit that one, then I won't be able to get back on this again. So I'm going to go ahead and share. Hopefully it will work the way I'm hoping. Okay, we want to talk a little bit about co-impact sourcing, and Brian alluded to this with what they're doing in Uganda with the RUTFs. And so we're going to talk just a little bit about how doTERRA does it all over the world.
Essential oils are everywhere. You see them for sale online, in social media, on Amazon, even the grocery store shelf. But you have to ask yourself, was it ethically and sustainably sourced, and are they pure and free of adulterations? With the increased popularity of essential oils, too many companies, big and small, are in the dark as to where their oils are coming from. Some even intentionally take advantage of farmers and distillers while cutting corners and padding profits. They advertise their products as 100% pure when they truly have no visibility into who is producing the oils or how it's being done. They did, however, wrap it in a pretty label and bought some Google ad space. It's easy for a consumer to get lost in this growing marketplace. Since 2008, doTERRA has sold more than 187 million bottles of essential oils to nearly 9.8 million customers worldwide. They trust doTERRA because we only source the very best essential oils in the world. Since many plants grown for essential oils thrive in developing countries, doTERRA is committed to making sure the lives of each farmer, harvester, and distiller are better because of our partnership. We call this co-impact sourcing. Positive impact for everyone along the entire supply chain, and the purest essential oils for you. Our co-impact sourcing commitment is to 1, be directly involved at the source. Through this, we know the people and processes involved. 2, ensuring positive social impact, including job creation, fair labor conditions, and even community development projects. And 3, environmental stewardship and sustainability. You get the highest quality and most effective essential oils, along with the knowledge that your purchase protects growers and distillers from being cheated by middlemen and large corporations. When you purchase a doTERRA essential oil, you can be a conscious consumer and know you are getting oils that are not only traceable, but are proven and tested to work for you and those you care about. To learn more about co-impact sourcing and our sourcing guiding principles, and to hear the stories from farmers and distillers across the globe, visit sourcetoyou.com. doTERRA. Pursue what's pure.
I really love that video because it just gives you the picture of what it is that we are doing with doTERRA and their co-impact sourcing initiatives. It matters, and doing it all along the way. I love that, just every step of the way, it's good for everyone, and we want it to be good for everyone. It's just super, super important to us. So my plan didn't work as well as I thought, but we're going to now have Mont, and I'm going to go ahead and share again, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about myrrh. You're talking about myrrh, right, Mont?
Yes, I am talking about myrrh.
Okay, excellent. I will pop up the screen again. There we go.
Awesome. I'm I just was doing a bunch of yard work, so my camera's going to stay off, but you're looking at that anyway, so that's great. Online on the Source to You, the co-impact sourcing kind of report on myrrh is that the number of people empowered via sourcing jobs is 1,003 people. So it's kind of myrrh is not a super used oil, like peppermint or even some of the other ones that we've seen. But it still is that's 1,000 people that we've supported with this oil. And then the lives supported by sourcing jobs, so that's their families and things like that is 6,018. So that's an impact on 6,018 people that doTERRA has through their partnerships with these farmers and the growers and distillers and kind of everyone along that supply chain. Myrrh comes from Somaliland. So it's been harvested there for generations, native to the regions in Africa and the Middle East. And historically, myrrh is, and essential oils in particular, certain ones of them, right? Frankincense, myrrh, sandalwood, are very, very, they were used by royalty as those early perfumes and things like that. And they were so valuable, worth their weight in gold in a lot of cases, which is really cool. So there's an awesome piece of the impact that we're having, the direct impact and ripple effect on those 6,000 people. And then as well, just kind of the beautiful history of an oil like myrrh. And this one, for doTERRA, the reason we're talking about this is it's 10% off this month. And so you have the option to purchase it there and support that ecosystem and culture. And then kind of just if you were to get it, or maybe you have one already, you don't know what to do with it, how to use it. First of all, I recommend smelling it before you throw it into anything. It's kind of an acquired, earthier scent. But you can use it in your diffuser and blend it with some other things. You can make a little roller, whatever, and put that on. And kind of one of the things that I love too is we talked about this history of it. The connotation emotionally or spiritually of myrrh is of Mother Earth. So that's the representation and spiritual connection there, which is cool. So for spiritual practices, there may be, outside of the traditional Christianity that we see, or even for those, in Christianity that just want to maybe add a little flavor of I want to have this oil for a kind of a little, just an honoring of Mother Earth and that divine feminine. I think that's really wonderful.
I love that. Thank you. Myrrh is also very, very good for oral health. So if you want to put a couple of drops on your toothpaste, you can do that. If you purchase our toothpaste, it does have myrrh in it. So it's very good for your gums and your oral health. And then also it's very supportive for reducing the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles, which gets more and more important to me every day. And another one is that you can just pop it in the mouth, your water, and use it as a mouth rinse. And I believe there is myrrh in our On Guard mouthwash as well. So all of those places are places where you can experience myrrh. And now you know a little more about what your myrrh oil is doing and how it's affecting others. So that's everything we have for you on the impact call tonight. So thank you so much for coming and being a part of it. And if you are wanting to learn a little bit more about how you can start or plant a giving tree yourself, we stick around. I'm going to stop the recording, but we will be sharing more about that right away.